Hey going guys, welcome back to another video. Something a little different. We're not going to be out in the field tonight shooting any photos. I thought I'd do a little video here at home at my desk, and we're going to go through what's in my bag. This is only going to be sort of astrophotography specific, to be specifically for astrophotography and what I keep in my bag for me when I go out and shoot my photos. I want to try and keep this short and sweet. We don't drag on too much. Just want to give you a bit of an insight on what I would carry with me from night to night when I'm out shooting, because when I head out, I'm driving at least an hour and a half to get to my spot to shoot, to get away from any sort of light pollution, or as much light pollution as I can. So I do carry probably too much sometimes. I do carry more than what's in my bag. So, but we'll start off with my bag, and if there's any little extras on there, I'll chuck that in as well. So let's jump into it. Okay, the first stuff I want to go through is probably, we'll start it easy. We'll go through what lenses I take with me on a nightly basis. So these are my three lenses. My ultra wide is the Samyang 14mm XP. It's the f2.4 one. It's the premium one compared to the Samyang or Rokinon, depending on where you're from. The 2.8, that is super cheap. This one is a bit more expensive. I think it's around $1,400 here in Australia, but it's optically designed for high megapixel cameras, and also being able to cope with 8K video. So I bought this lens to sort of future-proof myself in terms of quality of lens, and I knew that I wouldn't have to upgrade this. The only other lens that comes close to this, or is probably technically maybe better just because of the f-stop, is the Sigma 14mm 1.8, but that again is like another $1,000 more expensive, and you're gaining a little bit more in aperture, and you're getting autofocus, which I don't particularly need when shooting astro. But as you can see, it's a beautiful bulbous lens. It's smaller than the Sigma, so that's another reason why it got a bit of a tick in my book, and that's why I went with that. It's got a nice rubber ring on it. You can control the aperture via the camera, so it's not 100% manual, just the focus. Just the focus is manual. So that's my wide angle. The main lens I use is the Samyang 24mm 1.4. I just like the 24mm focal length. It's wide, but it's not ultra wide, but it's wide enough to get a decent landscape shot in, but also it helps keep the Milky Way at a, I guess, not keep too small in frame. Because when you shoot in 14mm, the Milky Way can be quite small in your shot because you're shooting so wide, where the 24mm is cropped in a little bit more. Does bring the Milky Way a bit closer in and make it a bit more prominent in your image. But if I do need to go a little bit wider than 24, I can shoot a series of photos to make a bit of a panorama or a vertorama with this lens. And having the fast aperture of 1.4, and then being able to back it off down to f2, 2.8, and still have good light gathering capabilities, and to get better sharpness from center to corner is good. But this is probably, I'll say this now, this is probably the one lens I'd upgrade. I would like to see Samyang bring out an XP version of this one, so hopefully 2020 will be the year. They've brought out pretty much every other focal length now in the XP version. This is the one that they haven't done yet, so hopefully this is the year. If not, I might look into getting the Sigma Art 24mm 1.4 because it's not a bad lens either. So, but so far this lens has been good for me, but yeah, it's definitely the main lens I use anyway. Third and final lens is the what I feel is the best 50mm you can buy, is the Sigma 50mm 1.4 Art. This lens is extremely sharp. It's got heft to it. It's very weighty, so it's not. I definitely didn't buy it because of its compact size and weight, because it's probably the heaviest lens out of all three of these lenses. But its optical goodness is just, yeah, it's supreme. I bought it definitely for its sharpness, and this only gets used on certain compositions when my foreground might be a little bit further in front of me, but it helps with doing panoramas, and also if I'm wanting to do a bit more just deep sky, or deep, more wide field, just sky shots of the Milky Way or things like that. Yeah, it's quite a good lens, and it's extremely sharp. So I'd recommend this 50mm over a lot of 50mm out there. But yeah, you just have to weigh up the fact that yeah, it's going to be heavy. It costs a bit too here in Australia. I think we're up around the $1,100 mark around there. It depends on where you shop. The prices of Sigma lenses at the moment are fluctuating a lot, just because we've come into the new year. But definitely recommend this lens. So that's my 3 focal lengths. I'll just put those aside. Camera bodies. My main body is, she's old, but is the 5D Mark III. It's a 2013 model. This is my second version of this. My first version went swimming, unfortunately, so I had to get that was back when I was doing surf photography. So this is my second body, and it's treated me well. It's a 5D series. They're built tough, and it's been around the world with me. It's done corporate events and portraits, and it's just done everything. But it's fairly good in low light, but this camera will be getting upgraded hopefully this year. My second body that I shoot with, and because sometimes I would use this to do star trails or time lapses. So while this one's shooting away, I've got my 5DS. This is I bought this back in 2015 when it was released. I wanted the high megapixel count. This is back when doing commercial photography, but I'm not really in need of high megapixels anymore. It was sort of a hard hard camera to sell off because of the high megapixel count. Not many people wanted to have 50 megapixels. So I thought, you know what, I'll repurpose this camera, and I had it astro modified. So I sent it down to Melbourne to a place called Camera Clinic. This is not a sponsored video by them. As far as I'm aware, they're the only people in Australia that do it. I Google searched everywhere to try and get someone local, but I had to send it down to Melbourne, and they converted this to a full spectrum modification. So what that means is the infrared and UV filters were ripped out of it and then replaced with a clear piece of glass. So now it sees the full spectrum of light. So from your visible spectrum, now it's expanded out into those UVs and infrared spectrums as well. So, all right, so there are my cameras and my lenses. Now we get down to the little nitty gritties. So, a bag of cables, remotes. In here, it's a little think tank, little pouch. Try and keep it all tight in my bag so it's not floating around, although probably need a few more of these bags. I've got a Harnell Capture Pro module. This is my main wireless kit. So, oops, here we go, got cables everywhere. Little receiver here. This will plug into my camera. Once that's plugged in and turned on, I can then remotely trigger my camera from up to about 100 meters away. So it's got a great distance, but it's got an intervalometer. This is also a lightning trigger, sound. This thing does it all. A cheap cabled one. So between two cameras, I've got remotes. Otherwise, I could just use a 2-second delay timer. Spare batteries. I've also got a nice little think tank battery pouch for my AA batteries, and that's all that's in that pouch. I will grab some extra stuff. Battery banks. Now I've got two now. I've always had the big one. The big one's, this is a massive one. It's 26,800 milliamp, huge capacity. A bit of a brick, powering my lens warmer. So this will be wrapped around my around the lens of the camera that's doing star trails, but also has enough power that I can tap in and also charge my phone if I'm watching YouTube or Netflix or just surfing social media whilst waiting for my camera to finish doing its thing. But then I've got a smaller Anker battery pack. This one is the Anker Astro, nicely named. Just has the one, but this one I think is going to take over my time lapse battery bank. This should last at least 3 hours. It's only 5,000 something milliamp, but that'll take over my time-lapse lens warmer, and I've got a second lens warmer that's coming for my main camera just so I can have that on, so I don't have to worry about it fogging out as well. But then I'll keep that one with me as my main, and then I can also then tap in my phone whilst I'm out shooting other landscape shots as well as my other camera shooting time-lapse. So alright, so got our lenses, cameras, we've got cables, battery banks and lens warmer. This is just a few little bits and bobs. This is where things get a little bit different. I created this little thing. So what I found was that when I was doing with my wireless triggers and the intervalometer or any sort of trigger remote, it was just dangling. So what I did was got a bit of Velcro and just a cheap stubby holder from a cheap store, $2 store, and I just cut some slits in it and was able to put the Velcro ring through so I can ring it up, like Velcro it to the tripod leg, just so when I've locked and finished with my remote, I can just drop it in there. This cost me like $2 to make, so it's just a little holder. Headlamp, definitely. This one is one I bought off Amazon. It's not any sort of brand. It is a brand, but it's nothing that no one's really heard of. But the reason I bought it was rechargeable, so I don't have to keep buying batteries. But yeah, rechargeable headlamp, has the red setting, of course. You've got to have red. It helps to be able to still see something throughout the night without having to put any bright lights on, so it wrecks your night vision. But I do have the bright white and also dimming light, and it does have like emergency flashing and stuff. So good little headlamp that I always keep with me when out shooting. What else do I have? Cleaners, blowers, gotta have a cleaner, little cloth, lens pen, love my lens pen, a three-legged thing, little tripod or L bracket tightener. It also has Allen key screw on one side to tighten your tripod, but also there is a bottle opener there as well. But yet have I been out shooting and had a beer whilst shooting, but I will aim to try and do that in 2020. Has some tyres. I got these from, I think it was Think Tank. I think it was Think Tank or Mindshift. No, Think Tank. And I've got more of them somewhere, but these come in handy. This has helped tie things down or keep it tight, not flapping around. So just having something like that on you has been good. At the moment, I do have a fly net or bug net because it's summer here in Australia, and the mosquitoes and the bugs are just phenomenal. So what else have I got in here? Got some emergency hand warmers. Actually, I think I need to buy some more of these because I haven't used them. Originally these were bought to wrap around my lens to keep my lens warm, but then I got a lens warmer instead. So I probably have to. It's good to have these little hand warmers. You can put them in your feet or in your pockets to keep your hands warm at night when it gets cold. Got my little cheap little nodal rail, so this helps me with doing panoramas to get them a little bit more accurate. So for when I'm doing stitching, that's about it. So that's what's in my main camera bag. As I said, I do take more. I used to keep this in my camera bag before I ended up, I guess, getting annoyed with it. And that is my Skywatcher Star Adventurer Star Tracker. Now, as I said, I've got spare AA batteries, and that is to help power my Star Tracker. As you know, I've got one of them out because that's the pro tip. Always take at least one battery out so it doesn't power up, because this knob easily turns, and all you do is just bump it one way and it starts turning, and it's going to start turning inside your bag or your case, and the gears are going to crunch, and then you've essentially thrown away, well, at least $500 or more. So we definitely don't want to do that. And then also you're going to get to where you are and you're going to have flat batteries. So I used to have this in my bag. It can take it if I configure it properly, but with vlogging, I've got which I'm using now, I've got my little Canon M5 videoing now. I'll have that in my bag as well. Not to mention, I've got at least 2 tripods. I think I've got 3 now because I've just picked up a new 3-legged thing, Corey tripod, as my vlogging tripod. So I've got a nice little tripod to be able to use. But yeah, it's a lot of gear to be taking out. anyone who's normal that doesn't vlog their little nights out under the stars, it'll be a lot easier. Even if you only took 2 lenses and 1 body, and you could definitely cut this back. This is just what I take. It is a lot, I admit, for sure, but yeah, I don't expect everyone to be taking this. And I forgot, I've got a light here as well. I take the little video light for vlogging with, but also if I wanted to use it as some light for light painting. I do sometimes use my headlamp to do a little bit, but I'm not really a light painter. I don't like the artificial light look. So I rather do those longer exposures at night and try and bring up the ambient light from the night, I guess. But look, I've spoken long enough now, but that is what is in my bag for 2020. This is what I'll be primarily using. If you follow me on social media and stuff, I always mention if I am using new gear. I have the luxury of being able to get my hands on different camera gear from time to time. As you know, in previous videos I've shot using the Tamron 150 to 600 lens and teleconverters to shoot the International Space Station transits. I've borrowed the Canon EOS R with the 28 to 70 lens, f2 lens, so that was awesome. I'm currently testing out the Panasonic S1 and I'm looking at getting a Nikon Z6 or Z7 with one of their nice new S-line lenses, and then we've also got the new Canon cameras coming out this year as well, and I can get my hands on some Sony gear as well. So I am lucky to be able to test gear, but and I will do more reviews on that sort of stuff in future videos. But this is primarily what's in my bag when I go out to shoot, and this is it for 2020. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like content like this, or you've got any questions in regards to photography gear and you're not sure what to buy, or you got any questions about any of the gear that I have, leave a comment down below. But if you do like this content, make sure you subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.